Hi, it's Alex from One to Call here. I've just been at an update meeting with the UK Department of Culture, Media and Sport with relation to the 5G network, which is the new standard for mobile. It's going to be a new super ultra fast network which they're currently developing, and it's just a meeting to sort of liaise with industry and get ideas. It was specifically focused around manufacturing and logistics, which is obviously very strong here in Sheffield and South Yorkshire. I was just here to try and sort of dip my toe in the water, get an idea for what the thinking is around 5G, things like that. Didn't really know that much about it coming in, really. I suppose to summarise my thoughts about 5G, I knew it was going to be fast, even like way faster than 4G. I knew that much. And I'd vaguely heard some things about, oh well, we need 5G to implement things like driverless cars and IoT and things like that. But it's fair to say I didn't know too much about 5G. I thought I'd just do a quick summary on a few of the things that I got out of the meeting which I perhaps not thought about before in relation to 5G. One of the things that came out which was quite interesting to me, obviously One's Call come from a kind of comms background, although we do IT and CCTV security, online security and all that kind of stuff as well, was the fact that 5G could have up to 10 times lower latency than 4G and some other connectivity types. Latency is basically just the delay between a message being broadcasted and received back again, which is, some people might know it from, like, you need low latency for online gaming, you need it to an extent for video calls, like if your speech goes out of sync and things like that, that can be to do with latency. The importance, I suppose, of low latency as far as 5G is concerned is that if communication is that much faster and has less latency, then it really opens up things like live remote sessions in terms of things like remote computing or on humans remotely controlling machines remotely. And I suppose things like you might have seen the suggestion that you'd be able to do surgery remotely by having a surgeon in one place and then machinery in the other, and obviously the sort of precision and the speed of which the data is transmitted in those cases would be very important. And that was very interesting. They were talking specifically again in the manufacturing and logistics area about enabling remote quality assurance and enabling people to remotely both monitor through data, but also to be sort of virtually available in a space that they aren't physically. Alongside that, one interesting thought that I'd never quite thought about before, obviously if the speed is so much faster for everything, then you can basically stick a SIM card in any machine, make it connect directly up into the cloud. And what that means effectively, if you can have a fast and reliable connection on any device, then you can take some of the computing power, computational power and equipment out of those devices. So if you've got a sort of a robot arm in your manufacturing process, which is so big today because it's got a lot of the components built into it, that could be much slimmer, reduced down in physical size, which is an interesting idea. And the other thing, I mean, off the sort of technical side of things, what I thought was useful to see was just that there's quite a few people from DCMS there and other branches of government, and basically it was good to see people in government looking forwards, not backwards like a lot of the rest of the government seems to be, and the fact that the government really seems to be committing this. They've put a lot of resources towards it. I think someone mentioned at one point that initially in the first stages of 4G there were 6 people working on it within that department, and there's 30 people working on 5G. So I think that'll make a big difference, and the fact that they're consulting with people like us today bodes well for the future. And I suppose in summary, 5G really, the way they talk about it, is going to be an absolute explosion. The technology that you've seen developing in terms of interconnectivity and connected devices really going to explode with 5G, because there's going to be more sensors, more data, more devices, more bandwidth. People are going to just be less tied in terms of physical space. You know, you could have a full factory operating in one location and all the service teams, people monitoring it in a totally different location. And it's going to be interesting to see how that affects people. In terms of one last thing to mention, if you are a manufacturing or logistics company in the UK, then they're launching a competition next week, and to get on the first tranche of funding they want to get some use cases and some studies so that they can look at how 5G develops in those sectors, you know, in reality. Dealing with the wind in my hair here. Yeah, if you're in those sectors, look out next week for an announcement. The best place to follow is on Twitter. Go to UK_5G, and the website is uk5g.org. Have a look for the information there. I'll try and tweet out about it when I notice it as well. And they're looking for, I think they said, up to 6 companies in logistics and I think 6 in manufacturing. That's off the top of my head. For up to 60% funding, and some from all different sectors, so SMEs included. You don't have to be a huge business. So yeah, if you're in logistics or manufacturing, get onto those websites, find the information and see if it's something that might be relevant to you. You never know. You never know. Anyway, thanks for watching.